Ho, ho, ho. Welcome to a Fifth Jack Gaming, where today is Christmas. I don't know if you celebrate, but if you do, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and a little bit of everything else that goes along with it. So, last night I was laying down, I was more sitting down with the family, watching some Christmas movies, and decided to start a little project. Well, that project got started, kept on working, and then it got finished. What was that little project? Well, I did a bit of reading, and we read Klaus, the deluxe edition of this. So what we're going to end up covering, we're going to cover the main story of Klaus. This has some mini stories that you can end up having within it that's not going to be in the other trades that you end up having. It also has a bunch of covers and other awesome additions that's in this book. If you are anywhere interested in picking up Klaus, you can go over to organicpricebooks.com, use the code of FIFITJACK to save $2 off. If you have 4 or more books, rock it with Jack It Together to be able to save 5% off your entire order instead. Orders that are $30 or more ends up being free shipping. Alright, enough about OPB because we know they're amazing. Let's talk about the man of the hour, Klaus. Well, I guess he's on vacation right now since he just got done doing all of his work. I believe they also say Klaus, and I think that's what it's mostly a thing. So from this point forward, we're going to call it Klaus. Sound good? Alright. This is over by Grant Morrison and Dan Mora. I believe this is some of Dan Mora's earlier works, and this art is going to be killer. Alright, the story is over by Grant Morrison and art by Dan Mora. I believe this is some of the earliest art that you can end up seeing. And without that, Alright, this is Klaus. Could be said Klaus. I don't know, but I've seen it more commonly called Klaus, so that's what we're going to end up going with. It's over by Grant Morrison and Dan Mora. Dan Mora making some stellar art. Grant Morrison knowing to have some interesting stories to say the least. And without further ado, we'll do some nice voiceover action. And then at the end, we'll do a final review of what we have of the book. Klaus ends up giving an interesting aspect to a character that we have not really seen explored. We end up finding out the secret origins that comes out of Klaus and how he becomes. But we get introduced to him as a traveler that's trying to trade his pelts and stuff like that, and coming back to a city that he once left. Finding out that it's totally a different city. And this is where he's going to be coming over from being a jovial place to being in a dark and gray atmosphere. In the process, we end up seeing that he ends up picking up some of the magical powers. We end up discovering that the toys were been banned, that all the toys end up going over to the prince, and then the men are there digging coal for some strange reason. And then we ultimately end up finding out, but to do that, you gotta end up reading the book to be able to find that detail. But we see the ways that Klaus ends up becoming a little Saint Nick that we all end up knowing. But with a twist. This guy is more like a paladin style of a character, where you end up seeing him going in, fighting, taking on things, and going over for the righteous. Meanwhile, we end up finding the person that's in charge of the town is running the city to the ground and taking any kind of morale and bringing it down, all for one magical cause. The same cause that they ended up having that they're digging for coal. And like stated before, you'll have to read the book to find out that final detail. We ultimately do end up getting to see Saint Nick hook up with Miss Claus and have a happy story. And in that process, we end up seeing her develop as well. From being a younger teenage, getting a nice little toy that's made by Klaus before the time, to a modern time where he ends up getting a new version of that toy. I have to say that art is a big standing out point, along with the story you'll end up finding. You got the feeling of action, followed by the development of the Klaus character, and the development of seeing the non-normal ways. What, remember the reindeer? Well, in this story, it's wolves. On Danger, on Prancer, on Blender, Blitzen, and let's go. Alright, with that going over, we'll slide it right back over, give our final thoughts about the book. And here we are. We ended up reading the book of Klaus. Or Klaus. Keep on wanting to say Klaus. Ugh. But anyways, what we ended up picking up is this nice stellar artwork that you can see. If you saw those double pages, that nice spread that you come over with it, it's amazing. You can definitely tell it's Dan Morrow. And for me, I first read them with Once in the Future, and you can see how that's inspired with this entire art that goes along with that. The story is an amazing story that goes over and actually has a fun and engaging origins, and then you also see some character development throughout the entire story. So what does that make it? Well, it's not just because it's a Christmas miracle or it's on Christmas Day. I would say it's a 9 out of 10. It would be a 10 out of 10 if the construction, I always have a little bit of a problem with Boom Studios with the way that they have their books ended up being, and that would normally deduct the point. But if we're not putting that in there, the story itself is a 10 out of 10. It's a strong story that comes over with it, and honestly, it's my favorite Grant Morrison product that I've read, and it's Dan Morrison art, so I ended up loving it anyways. What do you think of it? Let us know down in the comments down below. Also, did you end up picking up this bad boy? Did you read it this season? That would be awesome to know as well. If you're liking the content we're putting out, like, subscribe, and hit that little bell to be notified whenever we come out with new content. Thank you for watching, and until next time, we'll see you later.